Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee, and co-host of the program of Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. And we are back after the holiday break. Even if this is technically episode 2 of the new year, this is really our first episode since we...
It's our first one since we got a cold.
Yeah.
Oh, you pick up this crap over the holidays and you think, really? But it has made good watching. I've been watching more things, and I was inspired last night to watch the Best Actress in a Drama Golden Globe winner.
Oh.
I'm Still Here.
Okay.
It's from Brazil. And it's like 2.5 hours long, but it was very, very good. When you think you're working and you're watching something, you think, well, no, I'm doing something. So it was a good thing. And I picked off now, I think, almost all of the potential nominees for Oscars. But Golden Globes, Did you watch?
Chunks of it near the end. It's what you would expect, I guess, from the Golden Globes. It's a looser atmosphere. The alcohol is flowing. It's not as buttoned up as the Oscars or the Emmys are. We got a bit of a peek into what Oscar voters might be thinking. It's obviously two different groups of people. If you're somebody that had a very long movie with an intermission on your short list to win the Oscar,
I told you that thing is going to do well.
what did you think of the Golden Globe?
We still haven't gotten a handle on who is voting for these things because it isn't the Hollywood Foreign Press anymore.
Right.
So it's like, who's picking this? Are there studio people involved because they are trying to push the fortunes of somebody? I don't know. We did see that Demi Moore moved up. Her movie, The Substance, seems to have a little more traction now, and I have a feeling that she could get a nomination. At this point, think that's about as good as she can hope for, because there were people who weren't even nominated who should be winning these awards. So that's kind of a Golden Globe thing, is they'll tip a hat to somebody from Hollywood who's been around for a long time, but aren't necessarily the front runner, if that makes sense. Fernanda Torres, the woman from I'm Still Here, she was a surprise, way out of the left field. And people thought, maybe that's going to go to Nicole Kidman, perhaps.
Right.
She could get nominated, but I think, again, that's as good as she'll get. The Brutalist that's a front runner right now. Wicked kind of got thumped, and I thought they might have gotten a little bit more, but everybody said that's going to be something that'll win, sets and costumes.
Cinematography, sound editing, something.
Yeah, it's not below the line
Right.
awards. The big ones, I think they got it right with Kieran Culkin, and I think he's going to go the whole way for Best Supporting Actor for A Real Pain. I think Zoe Saldana was a good choice for Best Supporting Actress because she's been in a lot of crap for a long time. Yeah. And here's a chance where you can reward her for being loyal. And she was very, very good in the movie. And I think she could be the front runner for Best Supporting Actress, even though people thought that Ariana Grande was the likely one to win. And I think they're holding on both of those Wicked people until next year, because they've got part 2 coming. And so if they don't win this year, doesn't matter. Next year would be more of a crime if they didn't get in there.
Yeah, I was wondering that myself, because even if you go back a few, this is quite a few Oscars now, and you look at like Lord of the Rings, right? It almost took to that third picture until they finally opened up the floodgates. And I sometimes wonder, when you do these productions that are split in half, if you penalize the first movie a little bit, because it's like, this really should have just been one movie. So we're going to put you on pause. We're going to make you wait a year. And then we're going to come back and kind of assess the whole thing as one. You look at like Lord of the Rings, like Lord of the Rings was one book. I mean, they just decided to split it into 3 movies. And I think with that one, it was like, you decide to take a single book, divide it into 3. We're going to reward the third one on the basis of how 1, 2, and 3 all come together. And I think we're going to see that with Wicked too.
Dune was one that kind of falls in this pot.
Yep.
It could have been a winner last year. I think this year it's going to be an also ran. I don't think it probably will be nominated for Best Picture, but there's no way it's going to go up against these other ones.
Yeah. So Adrian Brody, is he best actor?
I really think so.
Yeah.
I really think, because it's so good. He's so good. and he deserves it. I love though that when the host made a joke about it was like so many years between his Holocaust survivor pictures, and I thought, well, that's kind of true. He's very good at that role, but this is different. This is not the same as his last one where he did win. And I think he deserves to win. You look at Ralph Fiennes from Conclave, could be a potential, but I don't really know that some of the other ones that were in the list are as strong.
Well, and I'm assuming Timothy Chalamet is going to be nominated for Dylan, but I wonder if the voters are a little bit burnt out also on these biopics of musicians. I mean, we've had Elvis, we've had Elton John, we've had Queen.
Notice how they say though he did his own singing, and you go, well, all right, but because Rami Malek didn't, and that is one that they always look at as like, why did we give him that one? Why did he win? You know, Timothy is going to win sometime. It's just inevitable. It might be when he's 40 something like Leonardo DiCaprio, but he'll win. He's got another film that's already in the can. He'll be nominated. Yeah, he'll definitely be nominated. I don't know if Sebastian Stan will be nominated. He was nominated for A Different Man, this one, and won. But I don't know that that's strong enough to make it in the top 5.
So any other surprises? Anything that stood out for you in the show?
The TV ones went almost to the letter as to who you were expecting.
I was nothing shocked me there at all.
They come after the Emmys. The Emmys has kind of taken the steam out of that.
Yep.
Now we still have the Screen Actors Guild, and that will be another way for some of these ones to put a button on it.
Mm-hmm.
In the film categories, that's where we saw the surprises. And Emilia Perez could be Best Picture. It really could.
Mm-hmm.
But that is that whole concept with Netflix. How do we reward Netflix? And I think it has the best shot at getting Best Foreign Language Film.
Mm-hmm.
It won that at the Golden Globes. I think that's where they'll give it a prize and move on from there.
I haven't seen enough of the movies to really comment too much. I've seen Wicked. I saw quite a few. I see a lot of the popcorn movies. I haven't seen, I think, your more serious films yet, the big Oscar one. So really, I saw Wicked. I meant to go see A Complete Unknown during the break, but we just ran out of time. And I'm going to try and get to that one this weekend when there's a little bit more of an opportunity. But, really with the TV stuff is what I've seen the most of. I was glad to see Jodie Foster win for Best Performance by an Actress in a Limited Series. I thought she did a really good job in True Detective. I like that show a lot, and I don't think I think it kind of got buried, especially, when you're going up against like Baby Reindeer and stuff, it gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. So I was glad to see that. And as much, and we've talked about this numerous times, as much as I love The Bear and think it's a great, great series, I was happy to see Jeremy Allen White win for actor, but I'm glad the show didn't get Best Comedy because it's just not funny. It's not a funny show, and it shouldn't be in that category.
They need to reassess, and next year, and nobody's going to call them out and say, "What? You were trying to get in that cheap category for comedies all these years, and now you're going to dramas because it seems cheaper." No, it's like Orange is the New Black. One year it was comedy, one year it was drama. And I think they can do the same thing.
Yeah, the first season of The Bear was a comedy. It made sense to put it in a comedy, but the tone of the show changed. Yeah. And it can happen. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's fine. A show can evolve. I will say this, that I am looking forward to, and we'll see maybe a year from now how things play out. But we could see Jeremy Allen White nominated in another category outside of The Bear next year, and that would be for his portrayal of Bruce Springsteen. That movie is currently filming. There's a lot of buzz around it. It's going to be he's playing Bruce during the time when Springsteen was recording his album, his masterpiece, Nebraska, and it's going to be a fascinating film, and I'm kind of curious to see how well that shines.
Or will it be another one of those actors playing singers? No, we can't do that. What's interesting about this new lineup of people voting for the Golden Globes, they would be, in the old days, more likely to vote for somebody in a brand new show that maybe you wouldn't give it to. Wait a minute, is Dylan McDermott really worthy of this? And I think whoever is voting now, they're a little more with the mainstream of things. And so they're going to be just like the Emmys or the Oscars. So they're a little more in step. But I used to like seeing those kind of oddball choices. I mean, Demi Moore is probably the only real oddball one here this year where you go, what, really? That's interesting. But, and
Yeah.
I don't know that she does that much in the film that merits a win.
Let me ask you a question here now, too. Have you seen the movie Heretic?
Yes.
With Hugh Grant?
And that a comedy? Really? It was scary, I thought.
Is it a true, is it a slasher horror, or is it more of a mind horror kind of?
There's a little of both.
Okay.
What happens is these two Mormon girls come to his house and want to talk to him, and he invites them in and says, my wife is making some muffins. Come in. And they say, well, we really aren't supposed to. No, come in. It's raining. You get out of the rain. And then he starts saying things that they are suspect of. And is there even a wife in the house? So it's creepy. And then they have to figure out, how are we getting out of this house? Because it looks like there's no way out. So to me, that is not a comedy. But that whole category is so kind of butchered. It's like, who can we get to fill in the category?
It seems like a weird movie, but from what I knew of it, it's not a comedy, and it's not really a musical.
A Different Man isn't either. And here, clearly, the Wicked People could have towered because it's a musical. There's your Golden Globe. It was fun to see everybody back. I've been in that ballroom many times, and they spread the tables out a little more so you could actually walk between the tables. Before, it'd be like, oh my God, how are we getting through up to that stage? And then they did this weird thing where they were positioned to a side to present the awards, and then they let the person face outward to accept. And that was odd.
Yeah.
But they made the room look like $1 million. They gave a kind of a crappy meal to them if you made it in time. It was just fun to see them all in the same room kind of mingling. We'll see more of these because Screen Actors Guild will be coming, the nominations will coming out, and then we'll get the biggies coming up. So,
and the biggies being like the Iowa Press Association, right?
Exactly.
For best podcast.
Fingers crossed. Come on.
We're nominated.
Are we going to look like the Chalamets here where we get very kind of mad because we're shut out? Oh, thanks, those politics people. Get them out of here.
That's
terrible. Right. I've been looking at new stuff too, and there are a lot of new series, and we can talk about that next week. But I want to point out a new movie that they did release in theaters just before the holidays to get it qualified, but I don't think it has a shot of getting in the Oscar bids. But it's a fascinating movie coming on Amazon Prime called Unstoppable. And if you don't know anything about Anthony Robles, he was a college wrestler who did it in spite of the fact that he was born without a leg. And everybody said, you can't be a wrestler. You need both legs. You got to be able to do takedowns and all that kind of stuff. And he just kept at it and worked harder and harder, got a college scholarship. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of those they have Rocky posters on his wall. He goes to, is it Philadelphia where they have the Rocky statue?
Yeah, yep.
It is very Rocky, but it's a true story. And I got a chance to talk to Anthony about making the movie and what it was like to have somebody else play him and also to be in the movie because they needed some scenes to be doubled by somebody without a leg because Jarrell Jerome, who plays the Anthony Robles part, has 2 legs. So I don't think he was willing to give one up just to make it look a little more authentic. But he does double for him in a number of the scenes. And he talks about getting back on the mat and what that was like. Here's an interview with Anthony Robles, the person featured in Unstoppable. Anthony, when you were in high school, did you envision being on top of the podium at the state tournament? I have friends who were wrestlers, and they said that's what motivated them. They always saw themselves at the top of the podium. But did you?
I absolutely did. I had those dreams and the aspiration to be the best. But I think that's one thing about wrestling that I learned, and a lot of athletes and wrestlers will learn is it's a humbling sport. So my first year of competition, I was nowhere near close to the top of the podium, but that gave me the motivation, to train for it, because I wanted to not only prove myself right, to reach my goal, but I wanted to prove all those other people wrong who doubted me.
When it did happen, was it rewarding? Did you feel that sense of accomplishment?
Winning my first state title, I felt this incredible sense of accomplishment, but then I wanted more. I was like, okay, I have another opportunity. I have another year. I want to get another one. And so I think that first goal, that first moment of success, it just lit that hunger, that fire inside me to go even further and take it even farther than I thought initially possible.
And why was Iowa such a goal for you? Was it because of the people who were there?
Iowa at the time, they were the number one wrestling program in the country. Everyone knew who Iowa was. They knew that the top wrestlers went there. For me, I wanted to be recognized as the top wrestler. I wanted to be recognized as the best. And I felt like going to Iowa would give me that recognition. So, and they were also my heroes. I remember watching the documentary, the season, and pretty much on a daily basis after practice, that was my routine. I'd jump on an Aerodyne bike, I'd pop that video in, and I'd get an extra hour and a half workout of cardio just on the bike watching that film. So to be wrestling and just to be a part of the team that I saw as my heroes, that was one of my dreams.
And then how ironic is it that you wrestled somebody from Iowa for the title?
Yeah, that was very interesting how it came full circle. And that was in a lot of ways very intimidating for me to wrestle my heroes, my final match. And I was scared. I remember just being so terrified going out there to compete against them. But I just remember looking at my mom and my siblings up in the crowd, and that fear just drained away from me. It just completely just disappeared, because I remember thinking, I got this. There's no way he's going to beat me tonight. I can do this.
So how weird is it to have a movie made about you? Is that like just surreal?
It definitely is very surreal. It still doesn't feel like a reality to me right now. And I'm just so blessed every day, something new and exciting. And I'm just so happy with the finished product, to see this film, to be proud of it, to say, yes, that's my story. That's my family's story. And to have people reaching out now, just saying how much it inspired them, how it touched them, how much they can relate, because that was the ultimate goal from the very beginning. With telling my story, I've been through it. I lived through it. I reached my goal, but now it's about reaching others, inspiring them to overcome challenges in their life. So it's very special to have this opportunity, and it's a blessing.
When you look back at your life, are there things that stand out to you that you say, I should have known that at the time, I should have realized that? Or are there moments that you now can see in a different perspective?
I mentioned my mom being my hero, and she's my role model. But, now that I'm a dad of a son who's going to be 2 at the end of the month, I have a whole other perspective and respect for who she is as a parent and how she raised not only me, but my siblings. Because in a lot of ways, she was both my mom and my dad. She had to bear a heavy load on her own. And so I think going through as a kid, I saw things, I think I realized how much she loved us and how hard she worked for us. But now as a dad, I'm just absolutely blown away about how she raised us, and how she inspired us and what she overcame. So it definitely, watching this film, it's given me a new perspective and a whole other layer of respect and just love and admiration for my mom.
So did mom get to pick who played her?
She didn't get to pick who played her, but I actually got to break the news to her. I got to give her a phone call and let her know that Jennifer Lopez was going to be playing her in the film. And she didn't believe me. It took me like 10 minutes to get her to understand it wasn't a joke. But who better to capture my mom? The Jennifer Lopez.
Right. Well, all right. Well, then when they were picking somebody to play you, what were the requirements that you wanted to have fulfilled?
I'd say for me personally, I just wanted them to be able to capture that love that I had for my family, to capture that, there was a vulnerability to me, and even though I didn't like to show it at times, I didn't like to speak it, it was there. And Jarrell was perfect in capturing that. When we initially met, we talked, we developed a great friendship. We met back in 2019, but it was him just taking the time to observe me, just in my real life environment, whether we were just going to restaurants, hanging out with my friends, moments of excitement, of pain. He was just watching and soaking it all in, and he captured those little details about me. So, everything I could have wished for and hoped for, he delivered above and beyond.
Did you have to teach him how to wrestle?
I'm honored to say I did have an opportunity to help teach Jarrell how to wrestle, and along with my former assistant wrestling coach, Brian Stith, we were helping to create the wrestling choreography. But Jarrell, he took the time to get those little techniques down. He dialed it in, and every single day he came back for more. And wrestling, it's very physical. Even when you're training and when you're drilling, at the end of the day, you're still getting slammed. Your body is feeling that impact and intensity of it. But he just was focused on getting everything right about my life, everything authentic, whether it's on the crutches, whether it's just me emotionally, or also just the wrestling itself.
Well, so then when you went in and did some of the stunt work, if you will, for the film, how was it to be back wrestling?
That was a lot of fun. I was excited to get that call from Billy asking if I could be a part of the wrestling scenes, and to get back and to be able to train for something again. I think as any athlete, once you hit that point of retirement, it's like you just dream of having one more moment, just reliving that training for something again. For me, that was a lot of fun, but it was different in a lot of ways because I wasn't just going out there and trying to dominate over an opponent. Now I was working with my opponents. We were creating this choreography. We called it a violent dance, so to have a new perspective and create something beautiful and just at the same time intense and ferocious was just incredible for me. It was an amazing opportunity.
Have there been more wrestlers who are missing a limb that have been out there now because of you?
I'd say I definitely have heard from some other wrestlers and their stories that are coming out who are missing limbs, and they have reached out to me, a few of them, through social media, asking, whether it's them or their coaches, asking if I have some tips, if I can talk to them, if I can walk them through certain techniques so that they can figure it out on their own. And that, to me, it's an honor, and it's my way of giving back because, when I first started, I couldn't exactly jump on the internet, and type in one-legged wrestlers, and then there's all this footage, there's all this technique that I could basically copy and emulate. And I had to create a whole new style of wrestling with the help of my coaches. So now to be able to do that and help with this next generation of wrestlers who are coming up who have similar challenges, it's very special, and I'm just very excited for that opportunity to be able to give back.
I have taught a number of athletes at the college level who think that they are going to go on to have these huge careers in professional sports. Mm-hmm. And I always try to tell them, this is your reward. You are getting to go to school at a reduced rate or free or whatever. How do I get that message across to them?
That's a tough question. I think especially with the landscape changing with college sports now, with NILs, and I'd say try to remind them of why they initially got into the sport, the love of it. I think we're unique in wrestling is that there's not a big contract waiting for us at the end of the day. The professional league, it's just you go out there and compete for the love of it. And just remind athletes of that, at the college level. Yes, there's great opportunities out there. Yes, NIL and to go pro, but just be in the moment right now because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Some things can happen, but just enjoy this opportunity what's right in front of you and doing what you love.
Were the Olympics a possibility for you?
Was considering the Olympic route for a little bit, and I was actually training the freestyle wrestling, which is the Olympic style of wrestling. And what ended up happening, I was in a training session, I actually tore my Achilles tendon. Because I didn't have my other leg to baby it and compensate as it was healing. It took a little bit longer than usual to heal back up completely. So during that time, I shifted my focus. I received a stack of letters from some kids when I was competing, and it inspired me to one day become a motivational speaker because these kids motivated me. So
sure.
During that injury time of healing, I focused 100% on my speaking career, and I fell in love with it. And that's all I wanted to do after that. I didn't want to compete anymore.
So can there be an Unstoppable 2?
I believe there could be. Absolutely. My life now, I'm so blessed with this film, with this opportunity, but I'm always trying to be better than I was yesterday, whether that's as a husband, as a dad now. I'm a high school wrestling coach, just trying to give back. I just want to do better. I want to be better, and I want to give back to this next generation. So I absolutely believe there could be a part 2 here.
I'll be ready for it. Hey, thank you so much, and congratulations. This must be the coolest thing, right?
It absolutely is. Thank you, and I really appreciate your questions.
Thanks, Bruce, for that interview. Definitely a fascinating story. And I love these inspirational sports stories. I'm a huge sports fan, so you can't. I've seen so many of them now. I can't help but want to watch this one. So I definitely will check it out.
Yeah, and there are a number of them out now too. There's also one about a boxer, a female boxer who won 2 gold medals in the Olympics. That's interesting. They're going through that motion one more time. Must be something about the weather where we're cold and we want to see inspirational stories. But a lot of new series are starting because we're after the winter break. And what I want to talk about next week is Goosebumps, The Vanishing. This is the second. They don't want to say it's tied together because they're not, but they're based on those Stein books. It's about twins and their father living in New York. Hey, maybe it's you. It could be you.
Maybe.
And there's like strange stuff going on in the house that they have in the basement. So David Schwimmer stars in the series. But I talked with some of them. You'll get a chance to hear from them next week. Watch it. Do watch it because it is interesting. It starts this week. And same way with Unstoppable. That starts this coming week. Do watch these because they are, when you're sitting in the cold, what's more fun than watching a movie and saying, I got to get something to eat.
Well, on that note, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll be back again in another week with another episode of Streamed and Screened.